What is up, everybody? It's Nico from the EHG community coming back to you with another EHG podcast episode. This time it's going to be a different subject that I want to talk about. And I know, I usually don't talk about this subject, but it's something that actually popped up with something about games a while ago, and it's this idea: are games, or even gamers or video games in general, or the gaming community or anything about games, racist? Now, I have played games from, the NES to now PS4 and PS5. Now, my major thing about, I would say certain things with games right now, especially, in 2021, a lot of things with games, especially with design and, gender fluid ideas and, even having characters especially in Cyberpunk 2077, I believe that was, or Cyberpunk. I was gonna say friggin' Cyberpunk 2077. I'm all over the place with that because seriously, Cyberpunk 2077, yes. And I just want to make sure on that, sorry. But with that, you have all the creative ideas to make someone who is dark skin, Asian descent, or Hispanic descent, or even Caucasian, or someone with pink hair, with all that, all the creative aspects, especially now. But are games racist on intent? No, I do not believe so. I think games have a tendency of using racism as a major plot, especially towards a story. Especially with things major games in regards to, I would believe Mafia 3. I would say games like Assassin's Creed 3, especially when you hear things like racism against the Native Americans, and especially when you have and this is a spoiler who hasn't played 3 yet. If you're playing with Connor and his father, and there's interaction with one of the enemies, and it says, "Oh, well, I had a taste of the forest fruits," and that would be of Native American women, which is I believe 100% a racist comment. So excuse me for that, but it's meant for the story, in my opinion. Do I feel as in certain areas that games use racism as a part of the story? Yes. Do I feel they're racism in intent? No, not at all. I think basically it's based on the time that they're in. For instance, as I said, with Mafia 3, I believe this was the 1950s or 60s, or 50s or 60s, or the 1950s to the 70s, and it was during the time, right? Even in that area, a lot of people were majorly racist. There were also scenes, especially in certain games which involved things like KKK members. Especially there were major things in Wolfenstein, where there was ideas of KKK members, and ideas of the Nazis, and you're killing Nazis and KKK members and all that. But there is ideas of usage of racism within a story, in a plot, which actually makes a story and the plot pretty good. I think it's actually a pretty good idea to use that, because especially during the time, and especially during things using political areas like that, it actually makes a great story. And especially when you have a twist, in games like Wolfenstein 1 and 2, you actually have them to be able to oh, hey, this is if I may say, this is a I'm trying to explain that in the best way. This is what could possibly happen if things like the Nazis win, or all the racism that the Nazis provided, especially against the Jewish and much more, and they added more to it, where the KKK actually became a thing, and even more with the story of the main character and his father, and more and more. So I think that could be a major use where racism can actually be used to make a story. Is it intentionally racist towards a player? No, I do not believe that, because it's trying to tell a story. And whether you are black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or etc., anybody could play that game. It's not intentionally made for like specific players. Even if you are like black, white, Hispanic, or Asian descent, or etc., you could play any type of game you wish. Do I feel that gamers can be racist? Yes. If you see one of my videos as of recently for like the Overwatch Toxic, I believe it's episode number 44. There was a player on the opposite team that was using different a different language for their name. I don't know if it's Japanese, Chinese, or Korean, but it was a different language. And with that, I believe like the person on the other team was trying to make fun of him and stuff like that towards his descent. So with that, we had to make sure we made a video of that, and also go to the fact that he was being wrecked left and right for his racism. We didn't like that. We don't like, especially from my channel, we don't condone that freaking racism bullshit. Like, if somebody's going to be racist, then we're gonna air you out. We 100%. There's no reason for that. There's no reason to be racist, especially when it comes to people being different from you, whether you are racist against the black community, white community, Asian community, Hispanic community. We don't condone that in the EHG community at all. So that is why we made that whole entire aspect. It came to a point where in that game they were making fun of the person because of their descent, and trying to like do stereotypical comments through text chat, where everybody was seeing it and everybody was agreeing with, hey, yo, that's too much, that's racist. And in the process of that, like, literally I have someone like in the comments, like literally just like comments is trying to go ahead and say like, oh, he was just throwing intentionally, like, well, yeah, you know what, that's content for me. Whether he was throwing intentionally, where he was being racist, is not the idea that he was throwing, is the fact that he was being racist. And that's just, and somebody was just trying to be like, oh, you know what, you're giving him more power. Well, no, we're not. We're airing him out. That's how it is. And that's a sad part, where people actually try to get in the comments and be like, oh, why are you making this video? You're giving him more power and stuff like that. No. It's the fact that somebody actually decided to do that. We decide to air them out. If they have the right to go ahead and spend their money to constantly make accounts to go ahead and be an asshole and be a racist sack of shit, then fine, they can do that. But then it could also get to a point where, hey, we can make this type of content. So guess what? It works both ways. So that's one major thing. But as I said, can players be racist? Yes, I think certain people can. You hear the plethora of like use of the N word, like in a sense, with the ER at the end, just to be an asshole to people, because they're playing a certain character, or they're playing a certain way. So yeah, that could be leading to that. It could also be like things like especially towards someone who is as I said, of any type of culture, especially with that, like, I don't see the reason why people have to be like that over a video game. There's no reason to do that, and in the process, it's like, we're it's like you're gonna be reported for that shit, and people can actually see that. And one point, he also shows like, your racist bullshit. Like, of course, yeah, if you're gonna go ahead and call somebody the N-word because of the fact that they're playing a character, or they're playing this or that, then yeah, that's a big problem. Like you're doing way too much, because of the fact that, oh, somebody's probably playing your character that you want to play, or they're playing a character you don't like. I don't understand. I don't get that reason, and I don't really stand for that reason. So it's ridiculous. But yeah, that's do I feel like games are naturally racist in general? No, I do not. I think when it comes to video games, there's a lot of more things of less racism, unless you're using it for a plot. There could be racism used for a story. I believe when it comes to video games, there are a lot more I would say accepting with, especially character creation, things like sexual orientation and race. I believe that's a major thing for me when I see that, especially in how I see that. Um, do I believe players can be racist? Yes, we have seen like many different videos of people like basically throwing out many different racial slurs during video games over nothing, and especially when I've seen it in Overwatch. There is literally people either like using the N words, using like homosexual or homophobic slurs, like slurs against like people who are homosexual and everything, and it gets to a point where it's like, why? It's like, if people like are upset, it's like, oh man, you made a video over this, blah blah blah, you have no life. But at one point you're playing a game and you're getting upset over nothing, throwing a racial or homophobic slur, or even any type of slur. It makes no sense of why, if it's not that important, why are you throwing it over a game? So it basically means like, yo, it's the internet. If people are like, oh, you know what, it's the internet, it's online gaming, it's gonna freaking happen, you're gonna see it all over the place. Okay, well then you're gonna see people being aired out all over the place. So can the gaming community be racist? Yes, it can be. Are games naturally racist, like video games in general? No. Only if they use it as a plot. But that's just my opinion on that. Definitely go ahead and comment and let me know what you guys feel about it. As I said, this is all opinion based. I would like to hear other people's opinion on this. Definitely subscribe to the EHG community. Definitely turn your notifications for when we get new streams and new videos set out. Definitely join us on our Facebook group, our Discord channel, and make sure to go ahead and check out our merchandise. Follow the Liking Horn on Twitter and follow us on Glimish. But this is Nikko from the EHG community. Stay tuned for another episode of the EHG podcast, and remember that there's always something amazing on the horizon.